Mm-hmm. Is that good?
Yeah, I think so. Then we can move it in.
You want it a little pointed toward you.
But we should do kirtan, because time's a waste.
Yeah, underneath, they just have to pull out that a little bit. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Srimad Paramhansa Paripajikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayādvaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Pranams, Paramapuಜ್ಯ Guru Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Thank you for joining our Srimad Bhagavatam class. It is August the 12th, Wednesday, and we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 85. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Adhyatma Paroksham Idam Mayadigatam Adbhutam Evam Striyashrama Pungsash Chinno Mutra Chasangshaya The allegory of King Puranjana, described herein, according to authority, was heard by me from my spiritual master, and it is full of spiritual knowledge. If one can understand the purpose of this allegory, he will certainly be relieved from the bodily conception and will clearly understand life after death. Although one may not understand what transmigration of the soul actually is, one can fully understand it by studying this narration. Purport. The word striya, meaning along with the wife, is significant. The male and female living together constitute the sum and substance of material existence. The attraction between male and female in this material world is very strong. In all species of life, the attraction between male and female is the basic principle of existence. The same principle of intermingling is also in human society, but is in a regulative form. Material existence means living together as male and female and being attracted by one another. However, when one fully understands spiritual life, his attraction for the opposite sex is completely vanquished. By such attraction, one becomes overly attached to this material world. It is a hard knot within the heart. Pumsa striya mituni pavametam tayor mito hridya grantimahu ato griha kshetra sutapta vittayar janasya mohoyam aham mameti. Everyone comes to this material world attracted to sense gratification. And the hard knot of sense gratification is the attraction between male and female. By this attraction, one becomes overly attached to the material world in terms of griha, kshetra, sutta, apta, vitta, that is, home, land, children, friends, money, and so forth. Thus one becomes entangled in the bodily conception of I and mine. However, if one understands the story of King Puranjana and understands how by sexual attraction Puranjana became a female in his next life, one will also understand the process of transmigration. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Mahyam Tathati Shapadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapata Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Golpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Adhyatma Paroksham Mayadigatam Adbhutam Evam Striyashrama Pungsas Chinno Mutra Samshaya. This allegory was heard from my spiritual master and is full of spiritual knowledge. This Adigatam Maya Adigatam Adbhutam, this wonderful narration, Paroksham, was described by authority. And so from this allegory, one can understand the process of transmigration from one lifetime to another. And Srila Prabhupada focuses on this Striyashrama as the knot that ties us to material existence. This is the basic principle of material existence is this attraction, strong attraction in every species of life. What's worth coming back for of this attraction between male and female? Prabhupada said if one can escape that attraction, one is 50% liberated just by that. So this needs to be understood. This is why we're coming back again and again. We come back as this or that so that we can enjoy female association, male association, that attraction. And then the extensions of it, family life. You see the pandas, the Arctic bears, and they're enjoying the company of husband and wife and family. And in so many other species, one sees this same attraction. And then in human life, the same thing is there, but human life means that it's regulated by some principles. And ultimately, one strives to get free from this attraction by attraction to Krishna. Raso varjam raso pyasya param drishtva nivartate. Simply to try to give up this association will be difficult. But if one becomes more attracted to Krishna, then it becomes possible. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasha bhaktya. Then Praveen will help me, I'm sure. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasha bhaktya. Karamashayam gratitam yat udgratayanti santa tadvan riktamatiyo yatayo pirutas. Then Aranam Bhajavasudevam Shrotoganastadaranam Bhajavasudevam. In the fourth canto, Kumar is revising Prithu Maharaj that to resist the waves of material desires is very difficult. The yogis are trying to stop the force of material existence, stop the force of this sexual attraction. And it's difficult. But if one becomes attracted by the lotus petal feet of Krishna, Yat pada pankaja palasha, vilasha bhaktya, by devotional service, then one can go beyond these waves. Bhajavasudeva, therefore the Kumars advise, just engage in devotional service of Krishna. Of course, they had their own strategy. They just remained Kumaras. The Brahma requested them, my dear boys, I have great responsibility to populate the universe, and so I request you, please marry and have children. And they refused. My dear father, we're not going to get entangled in this material existence. We prefer to remain Kumaras, brahmachari. Because they knew this is the binding force of material life. So better, Srila Prabhupada taught, to avoid the whole thing. Like the Kumars, remain brahmachari and not become entangled. But better to be legitimately entangled. Better to be legitimately entangled than to be entangled in illegitimate affairs. The attraction between male and female is strong, but it's legitimized through marriage. So that's better than pretentious life of so-called brahmacharya or sannyas. Well, playing around on the side. What is that? Mityachara suchite. Better to be an honest householder than to be a pretentious, hypocritical brahmachari or sannyasi. That doesn't mean if the brahmachari feels some sex desire, then, oh, that's it, I have to become a householder, otherwise I'm being dishonest. There's brahmacharya means restraint. Restraint means the effort. One endeavors to control the mind, endeavors to control the senses. And by Krishna's grace, the endeavor may be successful. It's not that as soon as there's desire, then one has to take shelter of the grihastha, because that doesn't solve the problem either. It's not that marriage at once makes everything work. In married life also, there's restriction. One doesn't want to be a hypocritical brahmachari, hypocritical sannyasi, hypocritical grihastha also. Yes.
Brahmachari practice proper control and not be pulled into
How can
aversion.
the brahmachari practice proper control and not be pulled into aversion? Well, aversion has its place.
Like to the point where it's constricting and just creates negativity.
There's constriction and negativity have their place. at the stage of perfection, one is free. Raga dvesha vimukta is two. One is free. Of course, that's mityacharya. One is freed from raga and dvesha in the perfect stage. But in the preliminary stage, there should be some aversion. Why do I want to become entangled again in material existence? The Kumars were averse to marriage. They didn't say, our dear father, whatever you think, it's all the same to us. We're transcendentally such. No, we don't want to be entangled in this material existence. So there was some aversion. A person who gets burned becomes averse to fire. Yes, Kalkanta.
Is that aversion external or internal?
Is it external or internal? It's both. Internal, of course, is the core of it, that one develops an understanding. This is trouble. This is how I got here to begin with. I don't want to do this again. Or I've had my bad experience. I don't want that bad experience again. And externally, it has its manifestations. He doesn't chum around with ladies. Even though the Western way of life is all buddy-buddy, Prabhupada said freely intermingling, but he remains reserved. He doesn't like to buddy it up with women because the buddy becomes something more than a buddy. Becomes a budding romance. So he voluntarily restricts Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Puri was hearing the beautiful singing of verses from Jayadev's Gita Govinda. And the singing was done with such devotion that the Lord began running to embrace the singer. Even sort of making his way through some sticker bushes to go embrace the singer. And Govinda, the Lord's secretary, saw what was happening. And so, my Lord, that's a woman singing. And as soon as the Lord heard the word woman, he stopped in his tracks. Oh, Govinda, you've saved my life.
Citing that, some years ago in Los Angeles, a brahmachari wrote to Prabhupada, well, we're hearing Govinda being sung by a woman every morning. Couldn't we hear a recording of you?
That was in New York.
Was that in New York? Okay. So Prabhupada was less than pleased with that. And he said that if a brahmachari can't.
If you can't take that, better go to the forest because there's women everywhere. And then how will you preach? So in this attraction and aversion, one is to be guided by the spiritual master. If we're so stickly about it that a woman comes to the temple door, we slam the door on her, then something's wrong. It's not that we're meant to be spitting on the women and so on. Then that's the classic aversion that becomes attachment, or that really is attachment, masked as aversion. So that also we don't want. But we do want restriction as far as possible. One time I was in Los Angeles with Srila Prabhupada. He said, this balcony system is very good. In Los Angeles at the time, the ladies would be chanting in the balcony and hearing the class in the balcony. This balcony system is very good. And if possible, separate entrances. See, even if you see old Catholic schools, that were built many years ago, you'll see boys, girls, separate entrances. Separate schoolyards. I wish I'd gone to your school. I felt so uncomfortable in my schoolyard. I was just thinking about it, even as a kid, I felt like
Girls had cooties.
Hmm?
Girls had cooties.
Girls had cooties, yeah. So that's actually the civilized life that men and women don't mix. That they're recognized to be the fire and the butter. And if we say to the butter, oh, you're just, displaying aversion. Well, yes, I don't want to melt. I know what fire is, and I'm not here to melt. So a little aversion. If the butter wants to stay, stick of butter, then don't go near the fire.
In your book, Vanity Karma, briefly you talk about the Vedic system of education, how the boys and girls were educated separately, girls, and so forth. And you said this practice in the Western society of boys and girls mingling in the classroom. You said, what are they going to think about? And then you said, the Vedic sages were not so naive.
Yeah. Yeah, co-education is counter Vedic. It's just a bad idea according to the Vedic civilization and earlier to civilization generally. Now we've come to the point where if we don't have co-ed bathrooms, we're not providing the basic necessities of life. I attended a session, an annual conference of the American Academy of Religion, and in the program book, they were saying, we're so sorry that last year we weren't able to provide third gender bathrooms. So they're advanced in their sensitivities, they're professors, academics, so they understand the importance of having bathrooms for the third gender and maybe whatever the fourth gender will be. And apart from that, this, all right, at least separate, yes, we're all right, yes, have your third party bathroom. But at least let the first two parties have separate bathrooms. Anyway, that little bit of foolishness aside, the Vedic civilization says, as far as possible, separation. Therefore, the brahmacharya ashram, there were no women in the brahmacharya ashram. The Gaudiya Math criticized Prabhupada that you're having men and women. Prabhupada said, you don't get it. You don't understand that in Western civilization, you can't just separate them. But in India, they do. There's no women living in the brahmacharya ashram. At our Govardhan ashram, it's a principle, no woman can stay overnight. Because then who knows what's going on. So ashram means that, in India at least. There's the men and the women are strictly separate. But in America, all right, Prabhupada accommodated. He said, they don't understand that you have to make adjustments. But then he said, but the men and the women are strictly separated, and so on. Yes.
Unfortunately, in the history of our movement at times, there was like an excessive attitudes towards not just the idea of separation, but the idea that women should be demeaned.
Yeah, that's a known history, that there's a time when women were just demeaned and ridiculed, and and demeaned is a good word, disparaged, and so on. And that's also not healthy. Well, to a certain amount, among brahmacharis to have what shall we say, insider jokes about women, with the idea that, do you really want to go there, is not terrible. In the Gaudiya Math, the term is their living luggage. Living luggage. I didn't make it up. It's there. So again, it reflects a certain aversion. Do we really want to get into this? Do we really want to carry around living luggage for 25 years?
I'm thinking about Vaisheshika and Nirukula and how that would apply in that case. I mean, he wouldn't even be able to be who he was without her.
Yeah, of course. And it's not that, Advaita Charya has his wife. Then there's so many. But I bring that up not to say that we shall have no more marriages, but to say that a certain amount of negativity toward the opposite sex, toward marriage, toward family life is within the range of acceptable understanding and conduct. It shouldn't extend to your living luggage. It's not meant for insulting Vaishnavis. That's certainly not. That becomes Vaishnavi aparad. But to have that healthy fear and healthy aversion to material entanglement is the example set by the Kumars. So there's a place for that. But it shouldn't carry beyond its place. It shouldn't overflow the banks and become disparagement, insult, offense, and demeaning. What else was I thinking about? Yeah. So that's the first thing, that there's an internal culture, which is the most important thing. Otherwise, the external stuff is going to be quite artificial. But so the internal, and it may be, all right, it's cultivation. In the beginning, the cultivation is not mature cultivation, but we don't want to disparage either the brahmacharis either and say, he's just blah, 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 blah. Because we know he has some attraction, and therefore he's a phony. He's a practitioner. Practitioners practice. They know they have some attraction, but they're restraining that attraction for a higher cause. So there's an internal dimension, then there's an external behavior that reflects that, first of all, understanding of what it is that binds us to this material existence, and aversion to being trapped like that. In Kohelet, I found more bitter than death woman whose hands are, whose heart is snares and nets, whose hands are chains. One who is pleased God will escape her, but he who goes wrong will be captured by her. Well, that's not our Shastra, but he was a sage. And as a sage, he had that apparently bitter experience. I found it more bitter than death.
Who was
Kohelet, the speaker of Ecclesiastes.
So
there's that sense that, and the commentators there, going a little far from our tradition, they say that one commentator, quite a good commentator, he says that when a man sets out, as Kohelet did, to try and find the meaning of life and the purpose of all existence, then a woman comes and blows the whole deal.
Take a bite of the apple.
Yeah. In my book, he goes from being concerned about the meaning of life to being concerned about the cost of shoes and curtains. So so a certain amount of aversion, as much as it's, disparaged and it's kind of, attachment and aversion. A certain amount of aversion is good until one comes to the point where there's neither attachment nor aversion. But till then, if we try to cut the Paramhansa profile, I'm neither attached nor averse. So, yeah, when the girls come, I hug them. It's good for preaching. And we have seen this.
So Maharaj,
But we don't have any attraction. It's just, a matter of duty, right? So there are norms. Yes.
balance then for us as a society to balance that, to keep the brahmacharis strong and brahmacharis similarly strong in their sadhanas and their simplicity.
The main thing is Krishna consciousness.
And when they do, if and when they do want to enter into Grihastha ashram, how is the training? How do we ease into that training? Because it really takes some training to prepare.
They should be trained.
Mm.
It's not that we just throw you, I don't want to say in the lion's den, to throw you into householder life and say,
The den.
you go figure it out. They should be trained. That's the duty of their spiritual guides, their families also. How to do these things in such a way that there's understanding and there's proper action. There's culture, and how to respect a wife, how to engage a wife, or how to serve a husband, how to assist. So all of these things should be there. Unfortunately, Western culture has, very terrible ways of marital culture, with the result that it's becomes almost a joke, marriage. But if we're going to do it, then there should be training. Actually, the best training for married life is brahmachari life.
Mhm.
The best training for married life is brahmachari life, because married life means restraint. My next book that I'm working on, what are the 4 rules? We know that one of the rules is no sex in family life, unless we intend to have children. How easy is that? It requires training. That's the part that all the other stuff, but that. Otherwise, you're the servant of your senses. How much respect will your wife have for you? And then the complaint is, even generically in the world, that we're just seen as sex objects. So how do you get past that? Of course, they're seen as sex objects because every man is lusty and every woman is attractive. So how do you come to something else? There has to be training, and that training begins with brahmachari. Women are not meant for your enjoyment as playthings, as objects as toys. Hmm?
They are also servants of Krishna.
Yeah, that understanding that women are to be respected. Yatra naryastu pujante ramanti tatra devata, where women are honored, they're the demigods enjoy. So that without brahmacharya training, one is going to have one will have a much harder time as a grihastha.
The training doesn't call them luggage.
Doesn't
If the training doesn't consider them luggage.
consider them luggage.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like the type of thing that you do when you're beginning in brahmacharya. It's like, in order to protect
Mhm.
yourself, you take a very almost severe look
Mm.
towards, and because there's some, perhaps there's still some attention there
Mm.
of attraction. So you say, okay, I'm going to be like this. Well, what do we get? You know, the thing is, seeing all others as spirit souls, and again, that's not, I'm not talking about some Paramahamsa
No, everybody should.
level, but just having that part of our philosophy in mind should also automatically include respect.
I realize that I have my filter on and probably people aren't hearing what you're saying.
My concern would be that
But-
you go and you end up being a grihastha with the same attitude.
Yeah,
Now I've married the living luggage.
yeah,
Yes.
then resentment. So if one is going to be married, then one has to know that it's not brahmacharya life anymore. I was talking to a grihastha in Mayapur, and he was relating to me, the sudden change in his life. One day he's a brahmachari, the next day he's going out with his wife shopping for lingerie. So it's
Isn't it a duty of a grihastha to earn a living, to support a family, to give charity, to all these things? We don't seem to, we train our brahmacharis to just go on book distribution and preach, because you're gonna try to be a sannyasi, a Naishtiki brahmachari. We don't tell them that you're gonna have to learn how to balance a checkbook and
therefore these things are there that the spiritual masters and spiritual guides have to see. This person is inclined toward family life, so we have to see that he gets in, if he's that much inclined to family life, we should see that he gets situated in family life. And it's just a different deal. Brahmachari life has one set of responsibilities, and then family life has another set of responsibilities. And that's that principle, that it's a life of responsibility, first of all. It's not just what do they call it? An adventure,
If many of us only knew
Hmm?
as brahmacharis what we were in for as grihasthas in terms of responsibilities, maybe we would have thought twice.
Yeah, well, that's also there in brahmachari training. That, I gave a course infamously titled "The Hopes and Horrors of Householder Life," and the theme there was not that one shouldn't become a householder, but if you're going to become a householder, you should know what you're getting into. You should know that there'll be these responsibilities, that you'll be working, that you'll have expenses, that you'll have less free time for all the devotional activities that the brahmacharis have access to, that you'll have, well, courses online. I think you can go hear the whole litany. But there's the horrors of householder life. Who wants to work 9 to 5, 5 out of 7 days of your life? And these days, with remote work, they want They don't want 9 to 5. They want like 7 to 7 or 8. They want you to be always on call. And then all the difficulties of keeping a job and this and that, and then
Taxes,
taxes,
taxes, yeah.
yeah, your
Taxes.
taxes and
Insurance.
you know, all the expenses and all the duties, and then all the, you know, all the anxieties and troubles and of family, of children. You know, will the child even be born? Will the child be born healthy? Will we be able to have children? Will they be born healthy? If they're born healthy, then what's going to happen to them next? And now what? And now what? And now what? And what has he gotten himself into? And this and that, and where did we go wrong? And you know, all the things that, you know, and if he's not healthy, the child is not healthy, that can really be a what shall we say, a hardship. And you know, there's no guarantee. It's okay. You got married, and you see all the pictures and the happy smiling faces. It's not going to be like that for the next 25 years, uninterrupted, unadulterated. It's tough, according to the testimony of all my Grihastha friends. So the point wasn't to say never get married or you know, at all costs stay brahmachari. But if you're going to go there, then know where you're going and be prepared to accept the responsibilities that will be upon you. And maybe reduce your hopes also, because people have unrealistic expectations of marriage. You know, the nightingales are going to sing and the roses are going to bloom and the moon will always shine upon us with rays of love. You know, so if you lower your expectations, you're less a candidate for disappointment. And that's part of why I think there are so many separations and divorces. People have expectations way up to here, and when the expectations aren't met, then it's the other party's fault, and we have to do something about it, and then try again. And again be disappointed because those same expectations will again be unfulfilled. So, you know, lower your expectations down to something somewhat reasonable, and know what the responsibilities are and what the burdens are and what the cost of the license is. And then consider very carefully if you really want to do it. And if you do, then okay, let's move forward. It's like starting a business or buying a home or anything else that you do. Why walk into it blind? Why walk into it blind? And I think if we had that attitude, we would have healthier, you know, with the healthy family life is we never say anything bad about householder life. We just talk about how great it is. And you know, my life has been so much better since I met Ragini Prabhu and all that kind of stuff. I don't really believe it. It seems to me that if we study the books and understand these things and are trained by experienced devotees, including experienced grihasthas, then we'll have a better understanding of what it is and what it is that we're trying to do as grihasthas. Are we really expecting never land? That's what you'll get, never. But if we have reasonable expectations, and if we keep Krishna consciousness in the forefront, then all right, it's an arrangement for serving Krishna. And if that's with that in the center, it can be good.
Seems like it provides protection for both the man and the woman.
Yeah, well, that's what it's meant to be. Otherwise we wouldn't need it. But without it, we may be victimized. Then, it goes to forget how hard householder life is. Non-householder, life where it's just indiscriminate sense good. That's for the animals. We don't want to go to animal life before we even die. So all these so therefore my contention that healthy family life begins with good, strong brahmachari training. And we think that we're, well, the kid's going to become a householder anyway, so why bother with brahmachari life? You just cheated your son or your daughter. Yes.
This is a really good conversation, actually. And I was just thinking, I really appreciate the mention of the guru training the brahmacharis and the females and everything. I was thinking the first time I met Shivaram Swami, I actually met his disciples first and quite a few brahmacharis, and I was so impressed with how respectful they were, and not like they wouldn't look at you, but they were still very paka, but very, respectful and everything. And then when we went to have a lunch with this big group, I saw that the women were cooking the prasadam, but the men served out and served all the ladies. So it had I could see that there was training involved there where they were taught to respect the women. And I was thinking, this is why they are the way they are. This training.
Yeah.
Neither Govinda was saying, I'm repeating because I assume it's not heard.
We can hear, Guru Maharaj, we could hear it.
She even met her Guru Maharaj, she met his disciples, and she was so impressed by how well trained they were that the brahmacharis were restrained, but they were very respectful to the ladies. The women did the cooking, but the men did the serving, and they served the men and the women. So there was a culture there that was impressive. And therefore this point about being trained by the spiritual master. Yes.
Go off of Panchatattva Guru's point. You brought up what I was going to say about how early in brahmacharya you often see brahmacharis might be having those lustful feelings under the surface, but and then that comes out as negativity towards the opposite sex, or comes out as denigration.
Yeah.
How it's self-protection.
Yes.
In the beginning of brahmachari life, there's this negativity because there's more lustful desire, and therefore we compensate by, or we respond by demeaning women and so on.
So then how does one not okay, now I have to get married, or just push away
How does
the version?
How does one not act on it by either being spiteful toward women, or else just jumping in? Again, the real strength is Krishna consciousness. By kirtan, by engagement in devotional service, by preaching, by deity worship, by association, hearing and chanting and serving. But there's no what yet pada pankaja palasha vilasha bhaktya. Without devotional service, it will be something else. It will be just attachment and aversion, and maybe a spiritual aspirations, but more of a struggle. But if one's always engaged in Krishna consciousness, then one can sagunan samati chaitan. That's also there. Tamo rajas tada rajas tamo bhava kamalo bhariyas chaye chaite taranatitam stitam sattve prasidati. What is this lust? It's passion. Kamalo bhariyas chaye tada rajas tamo bhava. Then how does passion get reduced? By devotional service.
And Maharaj, water seeks its own level, so for a brahmachari, if he's serious about his Krishna consciousness and wants that kind of life, then he needs to get the training and be controlled to earn a good life that's on that level. If you give in to those lower urges, you're gonna meet somebody who worships its own level. But if you are serious about your path,
Yeah. Yes, those who are just looking for sense gratification will find partners who are also just looking for sense gratification, and those who are serious will find partners who are serious. Yeah, I'm looking at the clock, and it's become 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, and I've even missed some comments in the chat box. Maybe they can be saved, and we could continue tomorrow with this, with the questions that didn't get asked today. So thank you all very much, and let's do kirtan. And Kalakanta chanting. And let me fix this setting. Sound.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama,
Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paripuraj Acharya Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol.
Thank you, everybody, for joining
Thank
us,
you all
Sangha.
very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna.